What's up? What's up? What's up, my people? What's going on?
We back.
Yeah, we back in here. And of course, every week, 6 p.m. live on Facebook. Of course.
6:03.
6:03.
Yeah,
well,
we're close today.
Like Kendall said last week, 6:03, 6:05.
It's all the same thing.
It's all the same thing. You know, we here.
Time.
So again, for my new people, welcome to the couch where your mental health matters. I'm your host, Damien. I got my co-host, Miss Jackie,
Hello,
aka
everyone.
Damn It Jackie. Got the curls popping and everything.
Okay, thank you for recognizing that.
You know,
I feel good about that. That's one thing that I got together today.
Okay,
so I feel good about it. I have no shame about it today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, come on, guys, come on in, kick your feet up, relax a little bit. Get your favorite beverage.
Yeah, I was gonna say have a refreshment.
Yeah, have a little
Get
snack.
your little snack.
Is it dinner time or is it called supper right now?
Well, is it the same thing depending on how you were raised?
Yeah.
Isn't supper the same as dinner?
Right. Yeah.
It's the evening meal.
But I think like either I think supper is like meant to be like earlier, like 4 or 5 or something.
We'll look it up. I'll look it up.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
But in the black household, in my black household, dinner and supper was the same thing.
Okay. You actually said supper? Is that a country thing?
No,
okay.
we said dinner.
Okay, because I'm from up north and we definitely say dinner.
Just give me something to eat.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
Call it what you will.
As soon as we get out of school, I'm hungry. Okay, that's supper. No, you get to look. Most of us get snack.
Okay. Well, basically, I have my snacks here, and I keep them in my purse.
No Cheez-Its.
No.
You know, we got to clean up after ourselves in here.
I don't know what other women keep stuff like this in their purse. Listen, let me tell you something. You do not want your woman to be hungry and tired at the same time. So you want to always make sure if she says she's hungry, you stop, pull over, feed her. Mm-hmm. If she's tired, I don't know what you're going to do. There are just beds available.
Just a little bit. Just let her lay on your shoulder.
Get her in a position where she could relax.
Right. That's all.
Yes, and reduce stress.
And do some touching somewhere. I'll just leave it at that because it's still 6 p.m. So the kids are still up. They might be watching this show because we're talking about.
We went from snacks to sexual intimacy.
But hey, that's a snack.
Well, we're glad to see all of the viewers coming on. Like and share this. This is going to be interesting.
Yes, definitely interesting.
Today's going to be interesting.
Definitely interesting. We got a lot of information. We got some new things coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. With that, we're going to be unveiling some new things, some changes within the couch. Should be exciting. It should be.
Everything that's been going on is exciting.
You know, but we're here again where your health matters, so can we talk? So we about to talk for a minute.
Okay.
And our topic,
I'm ready.
You know what the topic is, so I ain't even going into the topic, but we're going to have our mental health kind of topic for the day, our trending topic.
Okay.
So we're gonna have the music and you know like Wendy Williams had like a trending topic or something.
Okay, we're gonna have that on the radio.
Yeah, we got a trending topic today. So the trending topic, well, actually was yesterday. 45 signed the bill to reverse the gun laws for individuals with mental
health issues,
mental health conditions. Right.
Conditions. Okay.
My thoughts are. Because initially, Obama put this into play after the shootings, the mass shootings and things like that. So he put this into play in order to safeguard us from our individuals, you know, purchasing firearms and shooting everybody up, things like that. So my position on that is that, I mean, I kind of understand both ends of it. Because I don't know what's regulated as far as like, okay, if you have a disability or you receive a disability benefits, then you're considered severely mentally disturbed.
If you have disability benefits, then you're
right, because they're going straight off of Social Security. So
they're
if you
going
get
off
a check,
Social Security.
Yeah.
Oh wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me let you. Okay, so you know what I see the issue in that is that there are a lot of people who are not getting Social Security who have real mental health diagnoses.
Who really probably need that check.
Yeah, a lot of these criminals who are killing people and being found insane are not in the system for
Right.
having disability checks.
Absolutely. And
So we're going to be bypassed.
that's my point. Like,
Okay.
who determines that you're going straight to Social Security to determine that instead of
Apparently he
looking at,
does.
you know, like that's pretty
Apparently
weird.
Donald Trump is in charge of that too now.
So, I mean, I understand. What are y'all thoughts? Y'all chime in again, like always. You know, we talk to each other. Y'all talk to us. We talk to y'all. That's how we do. So, y'all let me know what y'all thought. So, I posted it in the group,
Okay.
or on the page. And we got some responses, and everybody had like the mean
Oh, really?
face.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, everybody had kind of like the mean face and pretty much stating he wants to incite more shootings and more
Well, that's what
gun
it
violence.
sounds like, a reduction of precaution.
Right.
The whole nation has been talking about real precaution, honestly, ever since that shooting in Connecticut with those children. What was it called? The school. The name of, you know.
Sandy Hook.
Okay, thank
Sandy
you.
Hook.
Good memory, by the way.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember that, but
I got thoughts on that, but go ahead.
about what?
Sandy Hook.
Okay, I have thoughts about it too, and I don't want to offend people at this moment. With
This is how I got.
I mean, I'm just saying, just to keep us focused on what you're saying, right?
Well, I mean, my thoughts are that it was a hoax. I don't think it was real.
You don't think the children that died were real?
No, I don't think Sandy Hook
Deaths, those were real deaths?
actually existed. No.
Or do you think they died a different way?
No, I don't think it actually happened.
Oh, you don't think it actually
No.
happened? Okay.
Sorry,
Well,
not sorry.
The
But-
comments shared by Damian Harmon are that of Damian Harmon and Imola.
Hey,
They
I
do
mean,
not represent the collective of the couch.
We do experience, you know, gun violence and mass shootings and
Right.
things like that. But sometimes I look at certain things and
Mm-hmm.
and I expressed this on the show that I was on with the Conversation this weekend. I was on their radio show and I said
Oh,
that
you're all over the place.
sometimes situations are provoked in order to push a certain agenda. So if you're trying to incite gun control and take our right to bear arms,
Mm-hmm.
you would provoke, you know, fear. You would promote fear.
Okay.
You know, same thing with the DC sniper and all. It promotes fear. So
Yeah.
if we take away the guns from the quote unquote crazy people, we'll feel more safe.
From the crazy people.
Yeah, like
Okay.
that's what their thoughts are. So if I want to scare you, I'm going to do something to scare you, aka mass shootings.
Well, I wonder when it comes to the Social Security stuff, which diagnoses are plausible and which ones aren't, right? Like which ones are applicable, right? So how are they going to decide? They'll have to write a list. You know, a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist shared on Facebook the other day. Well, a friend of mine from childhood, because we don't, you know, I don't know him in adulthood, but he's a psychiatrist, and he shared this list of well, they weren't really real diagnoses like in the 20s and before, right?
Right,
Like there
right.
was no textbook that said you
Right.
had this if you displayed these symptoms, you know, 100 years ago. But there was this list that they used to go by in certain states of certain ailments, right? Ailments like incest was on the list, like things that qualified you for being considered mentally ill. You know what I'm talking about? When they
Yeah.
were just snatching people off the streets and
Yeah.
putting them in straitjackets and
Yeah.
putting them in institutions
Right,
wrongfully.
right,
So
right.
I just thought that was interesting. So when you're mentioning this, it really takes us back to something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, where someone's just throwing up a list of diagnoses,
Right.
and even if they've made that list, or because it's too general to say mental health diagnosis.
it is
Are we
very
talking
general.
about depression? Are you talking about, you know, bipolar disorder?
Right.
They're two totally different things.
Borderline, like, you know, like
Yeah.
what's the severity? And I think I
I
need
don't
to do some more reading on that
Okay.
to see exactly what, you know, exclusions, because it's kind of almost like it's a pre-existing condition. Like, okay, if I've been diagnosed with depression before
Mm-hmm.
and I get benefits, am I not able to purchase a firearm?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Or anxiety, or
Well, we'll have to look at that and then bring it back
Yeah,
for another
absolutely.
opening topic. Okay.
Absolutely, but that's definitely a good topic of conversation. That was stupid in my opinion to switch it, but I mean I can understand why, because it kind of blocks certain people, I guess, from being able to protect themselves just because they had a diagnosis. So I'm two-folded with it. I'm kind of on the fence with it.
Okay.
But all right.
Fair.
So moving on, you know, topic of the day, drum roll, hand claps, all that good stuff. So today we're talking about mama's boys
and daddy's girls,
and the impact or the psychological impact that it has on relationships. We're not just talking about intimate relationships, but just relationships in general.
Okay, so let me just give like a 2-minute synopsis on why I brought up like us talking about this today.
All right.
So I posted on Facebook yesterday. I had a girlfriend from high school. I read a post of hers, and she mentioned something about allowing, you know, a parent or a family member to something like that, like coming into your marriage and stirring things up. Okay.
Right.
And it hit a trigger in me so hard that I had to immediately, you know, when you see somebody's status and then it triggers a thought in you and then you got to go write something that you feel passionate about. So I immediately wrote about men who allow their mothers to weigh in so heavy on their relationships and their lives that it alters the secure feeling that the woman has that they're with.
Right.
And this isn't about tending to your mother and helping take care of her needs. That's not what this is about.
Right.
This is about dropping what you're doing, disregarding what your spouse is saying, telling you, or advising you because you'd rather have your mother's opinion, and then making your spouse feel inadequate in the relationship and insecure.
Right.
And it brings across a lot of sensitivity. I know when I was years ago, when I was in a situation like that, my mother, her old school advice was, leave that alone. Like, leave that alone. Don't say anything about it. Leave it alone. Because her thing was, you don't want to offend a man's mother. And you don't want to offend him by offending her.
Right.
By speaking on her.
Especially in that type of relationship.
Yeah, when my mom told me that, I was like, you serious, Mom? Because my mom's very outspoken. She say everything she's thinking. And she said, yeah. You want to keep the peace and keep things cool in your home, you need to keep your mouth shut about his mama. And what he do with his mom is his business. And I was like, oof. And so she said, she gave me the ultimatum, either leave or put up with it and be quiet. So I said, But I talked about that, and I have feelings about that, but I thought it was important to go through this topic because I feel like all of us have experienced it at some point or another.
At some point, whether you're the person that's the mama's boy or the daddy's girl.
Yeah, or if you're watching it.
Or you're on the other side.
Feeling it.
Right, exactly. So it's definitely a good topic, and we're going to kind of go in on some things. We got some points definitely that we're going to address today. So again, if y'all got any questions, comments, you know, you can throw up a finger, you can throw up a middle finger, you can throw up a thumbs up, power fist, whatever you want to do, hearts. We appreciate all that. So let's start with the
definition.
Let's start with the definition of
a daddy's girl.
A daddy's girl.
And then you give the mama's boy.
Sure.
Okay. So what I give as a definition of a daddy's girl, the daughter's relationship with the father is influenced by how father treats her and what he shows her. If there's a dad or a male caregiver in the woman's life, little girl's life at the time, he probably set the first model of how the relationship should be with a man.
Right.
Then the daughter clings on to that image of what she sees. Now, when we're talking about daddy's girls, we're talking about little girls who are really catered to by their fathers. I would say that is what I am. I'm a daddy's girl, right? Meaning I clung to my father so tightly that I bonded with him emotionally, right? Because my father's outwardly emotional. My mom is not. So to me, he was more like me. And he empathized with me more. Right. Now, other women can have other views of how they wound up becoming daddy's girls, but that's how I feel like I became one.
Right.
And he always sensed my emotional needs. My mom was more, I mean, she's just way more, you know, tight-lipped about, are you okay and all that. She's not going to inquire about every moment and how your face looks and all that. But my dad could sense, are you upset? You want to talk about something? So we bonded. When I became a teenager, I ran track and played sports. My dad would come to me, oh, I played this, I played that. And I'd say, okay, I want to wear these shoes because you wore these shoes. I want to wear New Balances because Daddy wore New Balances. Daddy bought a Columbia jacket. I bought a Columbia jacket. Me and my dad started dressing alike. It drove my mother nuts. I'm telling you, I was a tomboy. So I was wearing clothes to kind of look like my daddy. And I liked it. It was like this twin thing. You know how people are like, oh, you look just like your mom, and you and your mom are best friends.
Right.
We weren't best friends, but I liked it. Something about it I bonded with him in that way, so I
Right.
didn't see a problem as a
Right.
teenager.
Right.
But that's what I want to define as a daddy's girl, someone who sees an image of what a dad should be, what a man should be, the affection that a
Right.
father gives the daughter. The
Right.
daughter then clings to that
Mm-hmm.
and then uses that as a basis for her future relationships,
Right.
whether it's male friendships or intimate relationships later.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So, Mama's Boys. So, and I got some information.
Okay.
And there are literally like two types of Mama's Boys. The first one is the prototypical Mama's Boy, like Terrence J on
Think like a man.
Think Like a Man. You know, stop everything that he's doing to
Oh, his
attend to mom. You know, very affectionate, very emotional, very in touch with his emotional / feminine side in regards to the way that he expressed his love towards his mom. And she kind of ran his relationship. She ran his life pretty much. So he had to gain approval, or Mama's Boys seek to gain approval from their mom. Whether that's their relationship, whether that's their job, whatever decisions they decide to make, they tend to look to mom for those answers, or that support, or that validation. Which could be a negative thing when it comes to relationships, and we'll definitely touch on that. Type 2 is the guy that loves his mom, reveres his mom, would do anything for her, because he felt like she put everything online for him.
Okay.
You know, whether she was a single parent, you know, and had to raise him by herself, and he saw the struggle.
Right.
And then once he became a man, it's like, okay, I gotta pay her back. You know, that's what Tupac said. You know, gotta pay you back. So you gotta understand. You are appreciated, right?
I love that you bring lyrics line by line into some discussions. I appreciate the versatility.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are the two.
Those are the definitions.
Yeah, definitions of Mama's Boys and Daddy's Girls.
Okay,
All right.
so we want to get into the subject of how these issues that are set up in childhood can affect dating lives.
Mm-hmm.
I want to speak on the daddy's girl issues from personal experience and then from what I see in therapy.
Okay.
And if you want to give feedback on that, please do
Sure.
after I give it.
Absolutely.
So basically, let me say what I'm seeing in it's not just dating, but just as adults, period. Okay. I want to share this. So I saw somebody in my office the other day, and I was mediating with her and her father. I've been seeing the girl for like 8 months. It was very clear to me, you know, there are clients that bring subliminal issues up and they're consistent. You want to bring light to those issues. Right. The father seemed to be the underlying subject of a lot of the sessions. And I said, hey, why don't you bring your dad in? Like, see if you want to invite your dad in, if he can come. This is a 20-something-year-old girl feeling like, hey, my parents are divorced for years. My dad has another new girlfriend. I don't know the girlfriend. I don't want to get to know her. Right. I haven't talked to my father much because he's kind of pushed me aside. This is a 20-something woman. So she's not a girl, right? A grown woman in her 20s who's saying, my dad pushed me aside for his girlfriend. Dad lives with the girlfriend. And the girlfriend has small kids. So if you look at it, she feels replaced, right? She's 20-something, has her own apartment, but yet she still feels replaced. It comes out in the first 10 minutes of the session. The girl says, listen, I just felt like this. I'm on an island. I'm trying to get your attention. You're in a boat. This is basically what she says. You're in a boat coming towards the island, and I'm like, hey, I'm still here. Hello, I'm your baby girl, remember? And I thought that was so interesting because, number one, she doesn't think of it as my father's grown and he's leading his adult life and I am leading my adult life.
Right.
She doesn't look at it as he raised me and now he's doing what he needs to do.
He's doing his thing, right.
She looks at it as he's abandoned me and he has replaced me. And that is a daddy-daughter issue growing into adult daddy-daughter issues.
Right.
Seriously. And I felt
absolutely.
bad for this girl, but everything we wound up getting all that out during the session and it turned out great. But the father said, I had no idea you felt like that. And you're always going to be here and can never be replaced. But it was always me and you. So I guess I didn't do a good job of introducing people in the right way to you. And she said, no, you nonchalantly introduced them, so I treated them nonchalantly.
Right.
She looked at every woman in her father's life as insignificant because the father, as a man, a lot of men do this, right? A lot of men do this. They don't do it on purpose, but they don't make enough of a deal about the significant new lady in their life to their daughters. Okay. They don't want to hurt their daughters.
Right.
I've heard a lot of fathers say that. Well, I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to throw it in her face. Is that not interesting that a father would say that, right? This isn't an ex-girlfriend. This is his daughter.
Right.
So I'm trying to explain to you guys, like, the type of issues that are coming up. A lot of us have seen things like that, whether it's our girlfriend telling us about what her parent is doing and her not wanting to meet the girlfriend. A lot of grown daughters don't want to meet their father's girlfriends, don't want their dads to get married. And this is where that comes from. It comes from that attachment.
Attachment theory.
Okay, you want to share?
You remember what that was? It was
don't put me on the spot like that.
Way back. But
I don't remember the
it's
true
kind of like
definition.
when children, I mean, we grow this strong attachment to our parents, and we want to feel supported and comforted by them. But when children are somewhat rejected or receive inconsistencies, or something happens to where there's some type of transition or adjustment, whether there's divorce or dad becomes absent, mom becomes absent, we tend to respond in a negative way. Whether that's, behaviorally we kind of act out, or we, internalize everything, so we tend to have anxiety or depression, forms later on in life. But that attachment theory, we especially earlier on, and I was talking about that last week when Dr. Jasper was here with I see the attachment as a negative thing and a connection is something more positive.
Right.
Just because of that theory, because if I don't have this attachment, then now I'm going to somehow be affected by it. You know what I mean? Even if they're there or they're not there, I'm still going to be affected. So, but it's kind of like, I forgot what I was about to say.
That's okay.
Just that quick.
That's okay.
I really did. That's weird, y'all. I don't think that's ever happened before.
Well, let me interject.
But go ahead.
Okay, well, let me interject with this. I know that I'm a daddy's girl. This is an admission. I know that I'm a daddy's girl. And I am aware of the things my father did for me that I honestly, they're second nature to me to expect them with men. And so this is one of the things that can happen in a relationship with a grown woman when she is subliminally and consciously looking for traits in her mate and the person she's dating and marrying to be somewhat like her father. I know that my dad catered a lot to us girls in the family, that every time I visit Chicago, there are new flowers on the kitchen counter. And
get it,
get it, Dad.
Get it.
Vern is buying flowers for Evelyn, and she likes it. And so I like to see it now. I do not recommend or suggest to the person I'm with that he needs to buy flowers every week. That's not the point. The point is that my dad shows the woman's value. And so I like that. So I'm looking for someone to show me value. And if I feel like they're not,
I don't know
then it creates an issue. Just hit it.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So if I feel like they're not valuing me that way, it's a big red flag.
Right.
And then my dad is a good communicator. So I like to communicate how I'm feeling, and I like to receive how someone else is feeling and talk things out. So those are the characteristics my father has that I know for sure I'm admitting that I look for. Right. And that's my issue. Like, I want to see that.
Okay. So for individuals that did not have their father.
Okay, the opposite.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because that happens more often than not. With that abandonment or that quote-unquote divorce or absent father, whether he's in the home or out of the home, the significance with that can be astronomical in regards to relationships, and especially with women, their ability to sustain and maintain healthy relationships. And they had some examples that I was reading. It's kind of like that aunt that takes care of everyone else's kids. She never really had a relationship, a major relationship with a guy. She's perfectly heterosexual, but she's never really been able to establish that healthy relationship. Or you have the woman that's, you know, hypersexual because she wants all that attention because she lacks
She's
that,
searching for it.
you know, that type of thing. Or you got the one that's completely a nun and just shuts everybody out because she don't want to
Is
experience.
that what the nuns do? Are you just using the word nun because they're not having sex?
Yes, I am. They kind of dedicate their lives to God, you know. And this is kind of like...
I need a consistent disclaimer that I was almost said the comments of Damian Harmon. I mean, okay, yeah, I get it. So, yes, there is the opposite, and I've seen a few different scenarios with that of they don't grow up with the father of the home, whether my friends or other women I know are seeing therapy, and they're searching for it. They're looking for someone to show them that type of affection. To be honest, I had a teenage client that was looking to get pregnant, and it came out later that because she was looking for the connection, a lot of teenage girls who are trying to get pregnant on purpose. Be careful of your daughters, okay? Because a lot of teenage girls are searching for a connection with a human being that, you know, they're trying to get married, but they got a boyfriend and they will find a way to get pregnant. They want to establish a connection with someone who's always going to hear them. And I've seen that a few times in female clients who are without.
Absolutely. And what they're searching for is that validation, that self-confidence that they were lacking. They kind of want the attention, so they go and get it however they can. Whether they're hypersexual or they just become more seductive in their approaches. They may not actually have sex, but they're getting attention from the guys just based off of mannerisms and just how they move.
Oh yeah, how they present themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
The interesting thing is about that is that my father was present, but I also searched for his validation. I know that I do. And even in adulthood, I joke with my friends about it, but my father was very good at packing. Like a lot of men are very concise with packing, or they just throw stuff in a backpack for a 2-day trip and they can go, right? So now at age 36, I find myself excited to tell my dad how well I packed for a trip. That is somewhat of a search for validation. I want my father to validate you did a good job, and I'm 36. I mean, but I recognize this, right? Is that not funny? I think it's funny.
It's
my dad cooked most of the meals in the house, and he's a good cook. So when I started really cooking, I would call back home and tell my dad. I'd be like, Ma, can you put Dad on the phone? And my dad gets on the phone. I'm like, Dad, guess what I made? He's like, that's my girl. And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean...
So you look to gain that that thumbs up, that validation from dad, and you kind of want that same thing to be emulated.
You know what I noticed? The tasks that I conquer, I go to my father for validation. The events that I move past in my life that are difficult, I seek my mother's validation. And I realize it's a result of what both their personalities are. So my mom is more rigid, more to the point, more blunt, and less emotional. So when I move through something difficult, she's always the one saying, I'm so proud. And she's so proud. You didn't cry? I'm so proud. He left you? Who cares? I mean, my mom is like that. My dad, you cooked a meal? I'm so proud of you. You didn't burn the toast? I'm so proud of you. You packed a bag? I'm so proud. No, but I can own that. I know that I received those two different things from those people. I mean, when you really start thinking about it, I'm sure like our viewers could probably come up with, in their mind, a couple things from each parent that they may tend to seek validation with, and it may create a pattern.
I think I did it more so. My dad, he was the stereotypical dad that was just worked.
Is it hands off? Like,
you know what I'm saying? Definitely
Okay.
hands off on the emotional aspect. And I sought validation from him with things that he liked. So whether that was football, playing sports, you know what I'm saying? Whether that's me getting girlfriends or whatever, him giving me a high five.
Look what I got. Look what I got.
She, you know, that type of thing.
Wait, that's that conquer thing we talked about from the sex episode.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I definitely sought validation on both ends. My mom was, you know, definitely more of the emotional one, but her emotions came through with Bible verses and, you know what I'm saying, like inspiration, things like that, but it wasn't
guidance. That was guidance.
You know, that type of thing. But all right, so we done had a little soapbox.
No, we're still good.
But as far as like, let's talk about the flip side. When you have those positive relationships, especially for a woman, with her dad, if he's the type of dad that pampers you, could that also affect your relationships in the future?
Okay, this is good. I want to get into this. I want you to define pamper because
Pamper
it can mean something different to you.
Pamper meaning when you first got your license, daddy got you a car. Whatever you needed, daddy makes sure that anything that you wanted. I'm not
if
even
it's
gonna
a
say
father that dropped everything for you.
Right.
Okay, I got it. It's
right.
It's the reverse. So instead of talking about the mama's boy where the boy does everything for his mama growing into adulthood,
right.
we're talking about the father that overly pampers his daughter,
right.
drops everything for his daughter. Okay, let me speak on this. Thank you. You know how to get me going. So listen. So here's the thing, because I've got a lot of friends in my life, male friends in my life who do things like this, and I'm trying to carefully give little advice here and there, but not direct them on how to parent their kids, right? I try to warn them on what they're doing with their teenage daughters. For the fathers that will buy your daughter a car as soon as she turns 16 and she's in college and she calls you and every time she needs something, you drop everything. I'm really talking about dropping everything for her. You are enabling your daughter not to be able to take care of herself as a grown woman. You are enabling your daughter to think that it is a man's job to supply her needs. You are confusing her and getting in the way of her becoming a real adult. And learning responsibility. And then you are teaching her emotional dependency.
That's the word. I was waiting on you to say it.
Emotional dependency, but I'm glad that we're talking about this because I accept that I'm an outwardly emotional person. I show emotion. I was very off put by my parents when I went to college, and I would call and they'd say, "Why aren't you busy? Why aren't you doing something?" And they didn't want all the coddling, and they didn't want to talk about emotions. They were like, "We're your friends." I appreciate now that they did that because they forced me into adulthood. They forced me to try to fend for myself. Of course, if I had problems, I knew I could call my dad. If I needed money, I could call my dad. But I remember I was spending money crazy. Okay, listen, y'all, let me tell you what happened. So this is usually a personal story, but I'm going to air it. Okay, I didn't have a real good concept for how to save money when I got to college. I was one of those girls like my dad started me with a bank account. Right? So when he dropped me off at Bennett College, he was like, "Let's go to the bank." And I was like, "The bank? What are we going to do at the bank?" I was excited. I knew there was going to be money. So I was like, "Okay, the bank." So we went to the bank. Dad dropped he dropped some stuff in my account. And I was like, "This is exciting. I've never had my hands on this much money." I overspent the money within a couple months. I called home. "I need more money." My dad basically was like, "Who do you think you are? What did you spend the money on? And you think I'm going to give you more?" I was very confused. I'm like, "Wait, we wore matching New Balances a year ago when I was in high school. You drove me to all my track meets. I don't understand who cut the umbilical cord." Like the cord was cut and I didn't know. So I'm telling this story for a reason. For all you out there with teenage kids, you're sending them off to college, you're not sure how attached to be and when to pull back. They pulled back abruptly, and I was taught a major lesson, which was, all right, they're not going to be that mattress every time I need something and whenever I F up. However, the next thing my dad told me was like, "You need a budget, and I want you to send me in the next week an index card with everything you want to spend money on in the next month." And I was confused, and I needed to call my friends and find out how much it costs. I was buying everybody's groceries. I was like, "Hey, my parents will send it to me. You starving? I'll buy you the ramen noodles." Yeah, I was naive and I was so friendly.
We definitely went shopping on you. Definitely.
Okay, well, I did. I just thought everybody was a good friend, and I just wanted to help people. So that's what I did. But abruptly, my father pulled it back, and I was like, "Ooh, that's rough." I was like Whitley Gilbert in a different world when the father came and was like, "Give me your credit cards," and she was like, "There's only one here." He's like, "No, give me the Neiman Marcus." And I'm like, "No."
Oh, wow.
So that was me. But I was enabled. I was enabled for a while, emotionally, not financially. My parents did not over-provide financially for me. I had to earn things. But emotionally, my dad was such a mattress for me. I fell back on him every time. So when he said, "No, I'm not going to do that. Now it's Friday. You need to go hang out with your friends. We'll talk to you in a few days." That was hard for me. But I feel like that needed to happen. So
what if, like, in that given situation, right, dad never said no to you?
If he had never said no.
And continued to do that, how do you feel like that would affect your relationships? You see what I'm saying?
Well, number one, it would have affected me and who I am, not just my relationships.
Right.
I wouldn't work as hard as I do now.
Absolutely.
I always have a job. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of us therapists, we hustle.
Yeah.
I would not have the hustle mentality if my family, my father, had not been very firm about, you need to find something to do with yourself.
Right.
And I worked in college.
Yeah.
As far as my relationships, I don't expect someone to support me financially. And I know that I can pull from other places for emotional support, whether that's my spirituality or my girlfriends or whatever.
Right.
I don't depend on the man
Right.
to just give me that.
Right.
I do like communication, and that's something I still take from me and my dad's relationship.
Okay.
But I am not hooked on my father's advice right now.
Right.
I am not overly seeking his approval.
Okay.
I don't need him to meet people I date for me to feel good about it. Does that make sense? I don't have
Yeah.
to run things by my father. I'm a grown woman.
Gotcha.
So I don't have a dependency.
Okay.
And perhaps it would have given me one if he hadn't have cut the cards. They used to call me Whitley. It's cool.
Oh my goodness. So I like let's talk about the Mama's Boys definitely, because we was definitely on Daddy's Girls for a while there. But when I'm thinking about Mama's Boys, the first thing that pops into my head is the Oedipus complex.
Well, that always pops into mind. Explain to them what the Oedipus
So
complex is. For
Oedipus complex is kind of like the relationships, because your parents are generally like your first love. Like my mom is my first female love, just like your dad is like your first love. So we all have this by definition or by society standards. You know, love is love, but under the Oedipus complex is when you actually have that love goes a little bit further, to where you actually have
a desire.
Thoughts and desires to actually be with your mom, and you want to actually get rid of the dad so you can slide in his place.
Okay, now wait. So I don't think they're really. I think they may take it very literal, like you want to sleep with your mother, but that's not really what it is. There's a jealousy thing that comes from the need of attention of the mother.
Exactly. So the attention that dad would normally receive from mom,
the son
is very envious of that and is willing to do any and everything to get that type of attention.
This is when you have to remind your man that his mother is not his wife. His mother is his mother.
They call that.
Let your mother have a life.
AKA your pseudo husband.
Your pseudo husband.
Right. Absolutely. So stop saying your child is the man of the house when there's no man in there. Don't say that that's your man, like that's your king and all that. That confuses little kids.
Okay, my son says that he's the man of the house. Now I know how he thinks of it, but I tell him, first of all, you are no man. You know, I bring him down to come on, because he loses his little mind sometimes. Right. God bless him. So I have to tell him, first of all, you are not a man. Second of all, you are responsible and you're old enough to know how to help to keep the house safe. So I really have to break stuff down.
Right.
It's not just about mommy. Because a lot of little boys view it as, I'm keeping my mom safe, I'm protecting my mom. Right. And then what do we say? All the little cute stuff when the single mom's boyfriend comes around and the boy is like, hey, that's my mama. You know, there's a line there where you're protecting them to a certain extent, and then, you know, as they get older and that's still happening and then it gets more intense, then you have to wonder, what is he really trying to do?
Right.
Boot any male out so that he can continue to thrive on his mom's affection?
Oh, I've seen that, definitely. Kids start acting up, and just to kind of mess up mom's little date or her little Netflix and chill night, the kid comes out there just want to be bad. Like, yeah, it happens.
It must, by the look on your face.
But just to respond to that comment right there, isn't some of that natural? It is natural to definitely love your parents, but to go to the extent, like we was talking the other week about the different levels of relationships, you can get to the intimate part with your parents because you're being vulnerable with them, but there shouldn't be no romantic desires. You know,
I think a lot of the times this can be filtered out and the line can be drawn when there's sufficient communication. Right. Going back to that session I had, it sounded weird at first, but when the daughter started replaying other relationships the father had, and how there have been a few women, not many, but a few women over years, in her mind it just accumulated to, none of these women matter, then why are you pushing me aside to spend time with them? And none of us thought about that when we first came into the session. But it was when she broke it down, and then Dad had to turn to her and say, listen, this is what the current woman means to me. This is why I care for her.
Right.
And after explaining that, the 20-something-year-old daughter said, you know what? That makes more sense. That you actually do care and view her as someone you can spend your life with. That's not what I thought. And so a lot of times our misconstrued ideas of why our parents are kind of paying us less attention, and then we're not discussing it, it leads to a lot more jealousy,
absolutely,
and attachment issues.
So one thing that I did find out, I mean, not find out, but just wanted to express, as far as like boys, when we do have a closer relationship with mom, we tend to be more emotionally available.
You mean for mom?
No, just
with the women you're with.
Just in general, yeah, just in relationships in general, we communicate more. We tend to tap into that, what they call the feminine side of us, which is the emotional side.
You're more in tune to be expressive about your emotions.
Absolutely. So there are definitely some positive things of being a mama's boy, but again, too much of anything is a bad thing.
Positive elements in moderation.
Right. I like that.
Thank you.
That.
Positive elements in moderation. So I want to reply to it being natural. All of us have some type of issue, something we're looking for from our parent, whether it's approval a lot of the time or just them to agree with some of the things we're doing in our lives, or to know if they're proud. That is natural. That doesn't just go away. A parent is always a parent, but we're talking about when it really starts to affect the relationship. And I want to get into the mama's boys who wind up pushing their wife's needs, emotional needs aside, and not realizing while they're tending to mom's needs that they are making wife number two.
Right.
And wife is the person you're supposed to build your life with.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to pull away from feeling like you need to help fulfill.
When you go through that whole ceremony and you take one candle from one end,
you leave and you cleave.
Right. So
that's what my dad taught me. You leave and you cleave. You leave us and you cleave. I'm not talking about cleavage. I just hate you. You are such a weirdo. Okay, I'm talking about cleaving. You Bible readers know exactly what I'm talking about. You leave and you cleave.
I don't know what that means.
That means you...
I read the Bible front and back.
That means that you... It's a scripture.
Okay.
That means that you move away from your parents and you become an entity with your wife.
Right.
You move away from your mother, your father, and you become... The new entity is you and the wife. That's first. That's now the first concern.
Right.
So you can still be there for your parents. You're not abandoning them, but you now make decisions with someone else, and it is not your mother. And I always say this. You start the decisions inside the house. Then you take them outside the house if you'd like to. But you start them inside. And so by doing that, acknowledging your spouse's feelings, either way.
Right.
I have seen also with a friend of mine whose 20-something-year-old girlfriend winds up bringing her father into her arguments with them. And so it should have been his red flag of she doesn't see the boundary and the fact that she's not a child anymore. We have our own adult issues that we can deal with.
Absolutely.
I think that's a major violation in an adult relationship.
Major violation.
Women, stop threatening your boyfriend with your father. And your husbands, I don't know what kind of husbands are standing around being threatened by their wives, fathers, and the idea of it. That is crazy. But it's happening.
I mean, unless he's being physically aggressive, abusive, like...
No, none of that.
Handle your business within the confines of the relationship.
Just an argument. I'm gonna tell my dad. I'm gonna tell my brother. This goes for brothers and male cousins and all that stuff too.
Right.
Yeah. There can be any of those boundaries broken by any of those individuals.
And the key word in all of this is enmeshment. Being enmeshed in someone else's stuff. It doesn't have to be, the way that we're putting it right now, as far as parents being involved with their son or their daughter's relationships, but just friendships. When your girlfriends are too involved in your relationship, that's definitely prototypical of a dysfunctional relationship right there as well. So we're talking about attachment, enmeshment, all of those things in general.
Let me say something.
No bueno.
I have my favorite, I don't want to really get into favorites, but I have an uncle who I love dearly who has passed away. Now everybody knows who it is. Everybody knows me. So my uncle used to say, Jackie, the more people that are involved in your relationship, the less of it you have to yourself.
Right.
And so he used to say, the more people that know about things in your relationship, the less control you have over anything in your relationship. Just meaning once you start going outside of it to discuss what's happening in it and around it, the less you can control the outcome. It's going to become a mess.
But because eventually if you go outside to get answers and you're telling all these different things that's going on, and it could be really bad, or it could be something that could really fracture the relationship. Right. And then you still end up going back to the person, y'all reconcile, but now this other person has to reconcile with the rest of the family, everybody else that you know.
Well, it's a trust issue. They lose trust. Yeah, that's the other thing. Be careful bringing your parents into your adult relationships, because lo and behold, listen, they will be the first people to come back and basically remind you of all the bad things that you've told them. Absolutely. And they can't let it go. Absolutely. So once the father hears the bad thing that the daughter's experienced, he no longer views the boyfriend as somebody that he wants his daughter to marry, and then he has a major issue. Once the mother receives the report from the mama's boy that the woman in his life has made him feel some type of way, the mama then hates the woman.
Absolutely.
I have experienced this firsthand. I surely have. I surely have. I don't have anything else to say about that.
So, again, I really want to kind of address, before we start to wrap it up here, as far as solutions. How can we deal with mama's boys in a relationship if you're a woman, and if you're dealing with, a woman that has daddy issues and you're in a relationship with her? How can we deal with you if you got daddy issues?
How can the man I'm with deal with me if I have daddy issues? First, I'm going to seek a licensed professional counselor, i.e. Damian Harmon on Psychology Today, or i.e. someone like myself, Jacqueline Curry, on Psychology Today. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I want to get help with it. I was glad that individual came to me and said, I've got these issues and I'm having problems talking to my father, and I don't want to see him or talk to him. So I'm glad she came to therapy, and I applaud her for that all the time. It was only through therapy that she wound up bringing her father to a session where they can talk that stuff out, and now she feels better about moving forward in her current relationship. So I'm happy for her boyfriend that that's being dealt with through her going to therapy. But if I have these issues with my father and I am with you and you sense that I have these issues, let's say you brought it to my attention. Hey, I feel like you're always seeking your father's approval and this and that and whatever. As far as how you deal with it, I would say that the men that are in these relationships need to bring it to the woman's attention. Then you need to have in your mind, with any other major issue in a relationship, where do I see this going? And do I see this stopping? And I remember what Brandon said when he was on the show, when he talked about the fantasies that we have. Make sure that the idea you have for your woman in your relationship is not just a fantasy. Make sure it's something that she actually makes real effort in trying to change. And then you can go somewhere, anywhere you all decide to go with that, whether it's going to therapy together, or you tell her, hey, I recommend that you go see somebody and I'll even pay for it, but I'd like you to work this before I decide to go further with you. You can have all kinds of discussions about it.
Now, as far as like, if you're dating a mama's boy, of course, definitely therapy, just being able to address, the definite elephants in the room. But being able to, what do you do with that relationship? Let's just say that the guy that you are dating, everything else is good except that. That's like a red flag for you.
That he's overtending to his mother.
So you've addressed it with him. You kind of maybe mentioned him going to therapy to kind of address these issues. Do that. What are some additional options? For me, I would probably say to try to develop your own relationship with the mom.
Ooh, see, it's interesting. I was going to say, hell no, don't do that. I was going to say, don't go to mom.
But having your own individual relationship so it doesn't feel like, not necessarily like a competition, but being able to understand where he's getting these emotions from, like, what's so interesting about mom. So you go get.
Okay, let me speak on that.
You know what I mean?
So this is because we're only dealing with personal opinions.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind was you want to be careful when you're trying to build a relationship with your boyfriend's mother or your husband's mother. Hopefully you don't wait till it becomes a husband.
Right.
Till he becomes husband.
Right.
To start tackling that.
Silly.
But basically, yeah. I would say I'm being distracted by the heaviness of this question. Basically, I would say this: be careful, because you don't know the mother well enough to know how she's going to respond to it, right? She might look at it. Listen, if the mother has a clinginess on this son, like the son has a clinginess on her, she may look at it as, who is this little heifer trying to come in here and mess up what we got? No, I've seen that too, and I've definitely lived it, just out of clear, positive intention with building the relationship.
So that
not
has,
talking
so
about
it
the way
has
they
nothing
interact.
to do with you. It's more so mom's insecurity.
It was then the mother being the mother hen over an adult man, saying, "Why are you trying to now come in here and mess up our flow?" She trying to get in the way of us.
Well, in that case, that's when you definitely
leave.
Definitely, but if there's that emotional attachment, and this is the one barrier that you guys are having, eventually, if you're going to be in this relation long term, if you're going to be in this relationship, then you definitely want to have some type of communication with mom. You can't go around, you know what I'm saying, like walking in circles.
Listen, this is what I believe. That's the man's job to filter that. Listen, do not go to his mama on your own and assume everything's going to turn out nice. I do partially agree with you. Starting your own relationship is good. Right. The man should be initiating the girlfriend's relationship with his mother. Right. Mom, you and such have this in common. I thought it'd be a good idea. Right. The mother is going to take that, number one, totally different when the son comes to her, because she wants to also please her son.
Absolutely.
She does not want to piss him off or push him further.
And he can't do anything
wrong. I feel like that's what needs to happen, and that's my personal opinion, because I've lived out the other side of that.
But I mean, like, but if it gets to the point to where you're actually married, and I think this is where people often slip up at, and this is when in-laws start to infiltrate your relationship, because you haven't established one, boundaries within that relationship, but also establishing some type of healthy relationship with the person that you're with, they most revere besides you. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be able to have your own individual relationship with that mom in order to make sure that, one, you're able to communicate your feelings and what you see. They may not see it because they've been living it. You know what I mean? So you having that confidence and that rapport with her to say, okay, mom, like, I love you, I love your son, but geez, like, sometimes I feel like you're more enmeshed in our relationship, that type thing. Whether she gonna like you or not, that's not the point.
I had a mother admit to me, I could not stand you in the beginning. I was around for years. The mother told me I could not stand you. And I said, why? And she said, oh, I don't have a problem telling you. I felt like you were trying to take my son away from me.
And so, but why would you? You see what I'm saying?
I was offended. I was offended because we were just dating. Like, we were just having a good time as adults. Right. What part of him was I trying to wedge between? How was I trying to wedge between the two of them? And then she literally told me, once I got to know you, I realized that was not the case. That wasn't my shit. That was hers. Right. So let me just tell you this. This is based on my personal experiences. I will never, as a 36-year-old woman, be inclined to stay in a relationship again, no matter how nice everything else is. If the mother does not want to build a relationship with me, that is a red flag to me. Yes, listen, these issues come up later when you live with someone and when you marry them. These become much bigger issues, Jamie. These start off as small little ditches in the ground, and they turn into landmines. And I'll never do that.
And that's my purpose. That's my purpose for saying. Earlier on, you may say don't engage, or you know what I mean, like let the significant other be that bridge. But once he bridges, then it's kind of up to you, or mom is not going to come.
If he bridges and it helps, then that's good. I wouldn't just leave at the first sign.
Right.
But honestly, for you people who are thinking about living with somebody whose mama can't stand you, a man whose mama can't stand you, and then you decide to go move in with them, and then you decide to marry them, you enter at your own damn risk. I've already told you, replay this for your friends. This does not always turn out happily ever after. And just know that with every other issue you have in a relationship, if it's a mess now, it's going to be bigger later. Yeah, marriage and commitment, such as moving in together, having children, only personifies these issues.
Magnifies.
This is not changing just because he loves you, baby. Right. His mother doesn't care for you in that way. She will continue to drive wedges.
At the end of the day, like we always say, it boils down to communication.
Sure.
You express your displeasure to your significant other, and it continues because, again, he's that bridge. So if you voice your displeasure as far as how the mom is treating you, and he does nothing, then that's a definite red flag. You know what I mean? Like, if he does nothing and it hurts you, but mom is cool. You see, that's the prototypical mama's boy. So if you address that ladies with your dude and he's a mama's boy and he does nothing,
he's not moving fast enough,
or he says, "Oh, that's just my mom,"
you leave, you pack and you leave. Sometimes you don't even stay long enough to pack. You just get and get out. That's what I would say.
And for those guys that are dating women with daddy issues,
get out.
Definitely recognize the signs. Never trust a big butt and a smile.
What if it's a little butt?
Little butts, big butts, don't matter.
Don't trust a butt.
Don't trust a butt just because it looks good and she's
Is that what you need
beautiful.
to say to men?
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, if she got daddy issues, it's going to come out in the relationship. It's going to come out in regards to her inability to trust you.
Sure.
Always questioning things. Always feeling like you abandoning her. You decide one night you want to go hang out with the fellas. Then she throws a whole hissy fit because, one day out of the month you decide to go hang out with the fellas and now she wants to start an argument. She got abandonment issues. I'm sorry.
I'm getting notations on my Facebook page saying, run, run, run. A lot of married, now divorced people who have lived through these situations, that is something I will never do again. That is my red flag. Right. Of a man that's saying that's just my mom. That means, honey, that he doesn't value you enough to try to fix that situation.
Absolutely.
So he can, in his mind, he could find somebody else that potentially work out for him and deal with his mama.
Right.
He thinks he's that valuable, and you are not as valuable to try to keep around in order to get into it with his mother about. But the man that wants to really marry you and spend his life with you and values you,
he's
going to have a conversation with his mama. Mom, you got to stop that.
Yeah, he's going to check that.
If he doesn't have the balls enough to confront this woman in his life about what he's trying to do with the rest of his life and stop that, that's not the type of man I want to be with anyway. 7 o'clock.
I get it. So
right on time.
There you have it. Recognize those red flags. Definitely don't ignore them and hope that they go away, because they won't if you don't address them. All right.
Well.
So we're wrapping up.
That was concise.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, you guys. Again, we do have some news. So starting Sunday.
Okay.
Which is what, the 10th?
I don't know the date.
Whatever the date is.
It's too progressive.
This Sunday coming.
The 10th. Good job.
The 10th. We will be airing on Power 104.4 FM at 1 o'clock. So we're switching from Mondays at 2
to Sundays.
So after you get that word in church, you can go listen to our word.
The blasphemy.
Because we're going to tell you some things that might be opposite of what the preacher just told you.
After you take communion, you can tune in to the couch.
With your spirit. Sorry.
Your worldly discussions and subject matters. Catch it all in one swoop.
Absolutely. So Sunday at 1, you guys, again, I'm going to post it on the website. I'm going to post it on our Facebook platform, all social media platforms. We're going to definitely promote that. Again, you can always download the TuneIn app to listen. You can also go to Power 104.4 FM online. on the internet. You can also listen live from there as well, so you don't actually have to download the TuneIn app
Right.
to listen. So Power 104.4 is right there. TheCouch704.com, of course. And the last thing, last but not least,
Is that like the Whitney Houston?
upcoming the mental health awareness gala with my guy
the mental
Rashawn
health
Miller.
awareness gala.
Right, absolutely. He's this is the second year that he's doing
I
it.
want to go. I want to dress up.
Black tie event. It's gonna be real sexy.
Is it in May?
Yes. Yes.
It's gonna be real sexy. It's like your favorite word.
It's gonna be real
It's gonna be
sexy,
real
black
sexy
tie.
and mental health oriented.
Yeah, we're talking mental health, raising awareness. Definitely, he does an awesome job out here in the community. Definitely vote for the Couch as a community organization. Or
How do they do
clinicians.
that?
They go to the website. Go to the Couch 704, or go to our page. I actually have the link on the page, and I'll put it up and make sure.
Okay,
everybody
we need to post that.
Absolutely. So definitely vote for us, you guys. I want to receive an award. I want to receive some type of something.
I want to receive. Vote for us. We want a damn award.
Right.
We want some damn recognition.
Out here in these streets.
So they'll be able to go to our website. We're going to post a link to the website where they can go vote, or what?
I'm going to post a link on the website by tomorrow. I'll post it on there, but it's also under the post that I put on my personal page as well as the Couch page as well.
Which I have not seen.
Click on the link and just vote for us. I got, all the information is there. Definitely. You got the email, the website, all those things. All the directions will be there to vote for us. Vote as many times as you
What is
want.
the title? What's the title of the award that we're going for?
We're going for the Community Organization of the Year and the Clinician of the Year. But it's going to be
Wait a minute.
mutual.
We're going for the
we're
Clinician of the Year together?
Yes.
Okay, I like it.
That's what we do.
I was searching for that
It's
validation.
just the Couch. the Couch. We're an
The Couch
entity.
is going for the Community Organization of the Year.
Yeah. So
Okay,
get
I like
that
it.
so we can get an award, at the mental health
So we
awareness.
can get an award. Well, so we can just bring light to the show and the type of mental health education that we're providing on a platform that is really free for the viewers and the listeners. I mean, honestly, the only fees that need to be paid around here are paid by Damien and I. So we're not getting paid to do this. We are doing this because we like to share this information with our community. We feel like people need to be educated on these things. So this is what we would like to have recognition for.
What she said. I just want to be able to stand up there.
I just want to explain to the people why
That's
we
all.
believe we are worthy.
I just want to feel like I'm at like the Grammys or something, and they have to turn.
Wait, I will too. When I look for my
turn the music on.
Well, Damien's mic is going to be the one that gets cut off. Mine is just going to be written out and concise. Damien is going to be reading his for 5 minutes and get cut off.
I'm thinking everybody.
Thinking
my
family.
barber.
Hey, family. Hey, sister. Hey, honeybee. He's going to go thank everybody. Everybody that he thanks every episode on the couch is getting thanked. Okay. All right.
Love.
So we're
it's all
going to...
love, but on a serious note, definitely check it out. I'm looking forward to attending that gala. He does some awesome things out there in the community, so I definitely want to give back and promote that awareness. They have a mental health awareness walk as well earlier that day.
Okay.
That we'll be involved in. So definitely, guys. So that's it. Again, tune in Sunday at 1, new time. And again, next Wednesday, Facebook Live, of course. We're going to be here,
on the
usual
couch.
faces, the couch.
In the studio.
You know what it is. All right, you guys. Peace.
See you next week. Bye.
Keep it going.